To punish his mistress, my husband printed my private photos from labor on a flyer. After Robert Harrison's personal assistant returned pregnant a year after I had her transferred to the branch office in Denver, Robert Harrison immediately put me on leave to take care of her and her needs at home. Sarah Miller liked fresh juice in the morning, so I had to get up at 4 a.m. to go to the orchard and pick fruit still covered in dew. When Sarah Miller wanted to see a performance in the afternoon, I had to dress up as a clown, get on my knees, and bark like a dog. Even when Sarah Miller and my husband wanted to be intimate, I had to wait by the door and clean up after they finished. Because of that agreement, I was 100% subservient to Sarah Miller's words. It wasn't until a month and a half later that she gave birth to a little boy who was completely dark-skinned. Robert Harrison dotingly sent her to a luxury recovery facility and even registered her son's identity in the Harrison family. Just when I thought everything was finally over and I could leave, Robert Harrison, with a cruel twist, printed private photos from when I was in labor and distributed them to everyone in the company. He grabbed my neck viciously, and just as I was about to suffocate, he whispered in my ear, "For making Sarah suffer so much, your punishment has only just begun." As Robert Harrison's grip tightened, my vision blurred. I tried to resist but found I had no strength. My head buzzed. At the last moment, he released his hold in disgust, then kicked me to the ground. I gasped for air, dry heaving and coughing uncontrollably in the office. A dozen seconds later, Robert Harrison grabbed my hair, forcing my head back to face him. Gritting his teeth, he threw Sarah Miller's medical report in my face. Sarah developed anorexia after giving birth. Seeing her in such pain, you must be thrilled, aren't you? I shook my head frantically, apologizing repeatedly. Yeah. Ergo, Sarah Miller had unilaterally altered the contract amount, causing the company a loss of nearly $500 million. Mr. Harrison was furious when he found out and immediately forced Sarah Miller to go to the branch office in Denver under my name. Because of this incident, Robert Harrison hated me to the bone. That night, he sent our daughter to the strict training academy he had established. If I can't see Sarah, you won't get to see our daughter either. Let's just torture each other. Memories flooded back like a tide. I knelt by Robert Harrison's leg and cautiously spoke. "Robert, when can I see Lily?" We agreed back then, as long as Sarah Miller returned safely, you would take me to see our daughter. It was this verbal agreement that made me willing to be Sarah Miller's nanny, her servant, even her livestock. Robert Harrison unconsciously distanced himself from me, and when he spoke again, there was a hint of disdain. "When you were heartless enough to send Sarah away, did you ever imagine you'd have a day like this?" I curled my fingers, wanting to tell him the truth, but the thought of Mr. Harrison's dying wish made me abandon the idea. Seeing my continued silence, Robert Harrison smiled coldly, then pulled a microphone from his drawer and threw it at me. "Sarah just went through the pain of childbirth, she cries every day and is in a bad state mentally. You're a woman who's been through it. Sarah is very curious, why didn't you feel any pain after giving birth?" I jerked my head up, meeting Robert Harrison's playful gaze. The unease in my heart grew. Then, he grabbed my arm and dragged me out of the office. The moment the door opened, all the employees turned to look at us. Each of them held a flyer printed with photos from my labor, their eyes filled with disgust and contempt as they stared at me. "Since everyone is here today, why don't you share your experience giving birth to Lily?" As he spoke, he held up his phone, and Sarah M. Miller's face appeared on the screen. She smiled sweetly. "Emily, I'm sorry to trouble you. When I had my baby, I had anesthesia and pain relief, so I don't really know what the process was like. But I'm very curious, so I'd like to know some specific details. Robert said you didn't have anything when you gave birth, so would you mind telling us about it?" I instinctively wanted to resist and leave, but Robert Harrison spoke flatly. "You don't want to see your daughter Lily anymore?" Hearing this, my movement of raising my head froze. Under everyone's expectant and curious gazes, I timidly began to speak. "Louder! The people in the back can't hear." The few minutes felt incredibly slow. When tears of humiliation fell onto the microphone, the sounds of gasping from the crowd reached a peak. Sarah Miller on the other end of the phone laughed excitedly. "Emily, I didn't know you had such a good memory. Didn't it open up a huge wound?" You remember it so clearly. Are you still reminiscing about how it felt? I was just opening my mouth to answer when Robert Harrison hung up the phone irritably. With a cold face, he dismissed everyone, then roughly dragged me back into the office. How can you be so pathetic? His sudden insult left me bewildered. He was the one who told me to say and do those things, but now he was angry. I licked my lips. Robert, can I see Lily now? He had said that as long as I followed Sarah Miller's every whim, he would definitely let me see my daughter. A year! A whole year! I hadn't seen my own flesh and blood. Whenever I missed my daughter, I could only quietly look through her childhood photos over and over. But before I could get Robert Harrison's answer, Sarah Miller's call came through. He deliberately put it on speaker, and the next second, Sarah Miller's dissatisfied voice came from the other end. Robert, why did you suddenly hang up? My wound hurts so much, I want to see you. Suddenly, there W. As a second of silence on the other end. I want to see Emily too. My heart sank. As expected, Sarah Miller started complaining. I don't like the people at this facility, they're not taking care of me properly. I still prefer Emily to take care of me. Robert, can you ask her if she's willing to come? Does Emily Miller have the right to refuse? Robert Harrison smiled gently. In half an hour, I'll bring her to see you. Then he looked at me with disgust. Didn't you hear? Go pack your things. I hesitated. So when can I see Lily? As I finished speaking, Robert Harrison shot up from his seat, glaring at me ferociously. I told you, only when you take good care of Sarah will you be allowed to see that cheap daughter of yours. Otherwise, don't even think about it. Hearing how he described Lily, my heart felt like it was bleeding. He could call Sarah Miller's dark-skinned child, baby, little darling. But he called his own flesh and blood, the daughter I gave birth to, a worthless thing. I didn't even have time to grieve before he forcefully dragged me to the recovery facility and made me change into the sterilized nanny uniform that was specifically for me. The so-called nanny uniform was actually a standard-made outfit. Because Sarah Miller liked it, I had to wear it to take care of her. Sarah Miller leaned bashfully against Robert Harrison. Emily, I want to see you do that degrading act you perform. Let's do the usual. Robert is here today, you can really show off your skills. Robert Harrison was slightly surprised. That degrading act? She performs that? I awkwardly lowered my head. The act, as it was called, involved kneeling before Sarah Miller and letting her draw on my face with a marker. After she finished, I would squat on the ground and imitate animal sounds. While making the sounds, I had to shout, Queen Sarah is the most beautiful in the world. Sarah Miller smiled shyly and openly explained the entire process of my performance to Robert Harrison. That's a good idea. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and perform. A sharp pain shot through me. I forced myself to squat down, enduring the agony. The next second, I felt dizzy and collapsed onto the ground. Just before closing my eyes, I saw Robert Harrison's face, looking worried, appear above me. I thought I must be hallucinating from starving for too long. When I opened my eyes again, I met the doctor's concerned gaze. He tentatively asked, Ms. Miller, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere else? I shook my head. The next second, Robert Harrison's voice abruptly appeared. If she's fine, hurry up and get out of bed to take care of Sarah. The doctor reacted faster than I did. He quickly explained to me, Ms. Miller had a low blood sugar episode. She must eat on time. It's best to rest and recover at home for the next few days. Robert Harrison scoffed. Dr. Adams, you don't know how strong her body is. She can single-handedly carry a drunk man to bed and even undress him and take advantage of him. For a woman who throws herself at men like that, forget physical fitness, even her mental fortitude is top-notch. I blushed with shame at his words, and the doctor awkwardly left the hospital room. As soon as he was gone, Robert Harrison yanked back my blanket and pulled out my 4-line. All right, it's just the two of us now. Why are you still pretending to be innocent? As he spoke, he nonchalantly tore open a bag of bread, then pinched my cheek and shoved a large piece of bread into my mouth. Eat it quickly! Eat it so you have the strength to take care of Sarah. I chewed the bread with difficulty, tears welling up in my eyes. Robert Harrison was right. It was because of that incident that I had my daughter, Lily. Mr. Harrison was a very traditional man, so he forced him to marry me. I admit my methods were despicable, but being cornered, I had no choice but to resort to such low means. Robert Harrison was a rising star in the business world, and with his protection, the Miller Group's bankruptcy situation would change. I just didn't expect my parents wouldn't have that fortune. After they found out I used such means to get involved with Robert Harrison, they were so ashamed they immediately severed ties with me. Now, I had parents, a husband, but in the end, it was all empty. Looking at Robert Harrison's face, I suddenly felt tired. All I wanted now was to take good care of Sarah Miller, then see my daughter and leave this place with her. I thought, what I started, I should end. When I reappeared in Sarah Miller's lounge, I worked non-stop. I had personally taken care of Lily after giving birth, so I was adept at caring for Sarah Miller's child. But no matter how well I cared for him, it wasn't enough to stop her from finding fault with me. As soon as Robert Harrison left, Sarah Miller couldn't wait to tell me to kneel and bark like a dog. "You little vixen. Haven't seen you for a bit, and you're already acting pitiful." Saying this, she kicked me in the face. "If it weren't for your little scheme, I would have married Robert by now." She thrust a gleaming knife into my arm. "It's all because of you. You sent me to the branch office in Denver, and I gave birth to this thing." Sarah Miller gritted her teeth and fiercely dragged the knife down my skin. The pain was unbearable. I let go of my arm, and the baby I was holding accidentally fell to the ground, crying out piercingly. I was terrified. I tried to reach for him, but she pushed me away. "Oh, you! Just because you can't see your daughter, you want to harm my son, do you?" Then, amidst the child's helpless cries, she called Robert Harrison. A few seconds later, she triumphantly handed me the phone. "Robert wants to talk to you." "Emily Miller, I thought you had changed your ways, but it turns out you're still wicked to the core. I'm telling you, for every bit of harm you cause Sarah's child, I'll turn it 10 times over on your daughter." After hanging up, Robert Harrison immediately sent me a video. On the screen, my thin, weak daughter was running on the track/field, carrying a tire larger than herself. "Emily Miller, if you want to see your daughter soon, you better behave yourself." With just one look, my tears fell like a broken dam. My daughter was suffering in a place I couldn't see. A year had passed, she was still the same height, maybe even thinner than before. Her skin was tanned dark from the sun, and in the video, she looked completely miserable. I wanted to keep watching, but Sarah Miller snatched the phone away. She glared at me imperiously. "What are you standing there for like an idiot? Hurry up and comfort my son. Otherwise, you'll never see your daughter again." Hearing this, I didn't say another word and became even more diligent in catering to Sarah Miller's humiliating demands. Every day I counted the time. The day Sarah Miller finished her recovery period would be the day I could reunite with my daughter. With hope, I became even more cautious. I never refused Sarah Miller's requests. A month passed. Today was the day Sarah Miller was leaving the facility. But for some reason, I felt uneasy all morning. It wasn't until noon that Robert Harrison came to pick up Sarah Miller. I desperately seized the opportunity and begged him to let me see my daughter. Perhaps driven to annoyance by me, Robert Harrison finally agreed. In the afternoon, he took me to the strict training academy. I waited anxiously in the living room for him to bring our daughter out, but I waited and never saw either of them. Tension and frustration coiled in my heart. I quickly pulled out my phone and called Robert Harrison. He didn't answer for a long time. I didn't give up and called again. It wasn't until the 5th call that Robert Harrison finally answered. "Robert, where is Lily?" After I asked, the other end fell into a deathly silence. I was getting anxious and blurted out, "Say something. Where is Lily?" After a long pause, Robert Harrison finally spoke, his voice slightly trembling. "Emily Miller, listen to me. Lily fainted just now and has been taken to the hospital. The doctor said." I didn't hear the rest. My phone dropped to the ground, shattering into pieces. But I no longer had the energy to worry about that. I had been to the hospital at the strict training academy before, so I quickly found Robert Harrison. His face was pale, and there was a hint of guilt in his eyes when he looked at me. The doctor said it's a minor issue. Before he could finish, I slapped him directly. Robert Harrison, if anything happens to Lily, I'll never forgive you. Robert Harrison stared at me in disbelief. He grabbed my wrist in retaliation. Emily Miller, I'm warning you, don't cause a scene here. What happened to Lily was an accident. Don't push your luck with me. Tears streamed down my face. I stared despairingly at the closed operating room door. In my heart, I kept praying that my daughter Lily would come out safely. I don't know how long passed. When my legs began to ache and feel numb, the operating room door opened. The doctor slowly removed his mask and sighed helplessly. Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry, we've done our best. Please accept our condolences. At that moment, the string in my heart completely snapped. Robert Harrison next to me suddenly became agitated. He grabbed the doctor's collar and shouted, "What are you talking about?" The doctor trembled, explaining to Robert Harrison with a look of fear. Ignoring their argument, I walked straight into the operating room. The daughter I remembered as vibrant and lively was now lying motionless on the cold operating table. I rushed over and grabbed her hand. It was so cold. There were countless wounds, big and small, on Lily's face and body. I wanted to cry out loud, but tragically, not a single tear came out. I dressed my daughter and carried her out of the operating room on my back. Robert Harrison tried to take her from me several times, but I refused. He followed behind me, helpless. As I was about to get into the car, he mumbled an apology. "I'm sorry. This was an accident. If possible, we can have another child." Looking at his face filled with regret, I felt truly ironic. As I was processing Lily's death certificate, Sarah Miller suddenly called, saying her child was injured. Robert Harrison hesitated for only a few seconds before rushing to the hospital without a second thought. "Sarah's child is still young, and she's alone, she can't handle it." I grinned, not answering. Robert Harrison was gone for 3 days. During those 3 days, I handled my daughter's funeral alone. The 4th day was Robert Harrison's birthday, so he came back early in the morning. But he didn't know that by then, I had already left that place of turmoil with my daughter's ashes. However, before I left, I gave him a birthday present he had always wanted. I turned my phone back on. I didn't know when it had happened, but there were countless missed calls and messages from Robert Harrison. "Where did you go? Answer the phone. Lily is my daughter too. Where did you bury her? What about the divorce papers on the table? Emily Miller, where are you?" Through his messages, I could already imagine his exasperated state. According to the Harrison family's rules, my daughter Lily's ashes were supposed to be placed in their family mausoleum. But I didn't do that. From pregnancy to birth, I had taken care of Lily alone. The first word Lily said was Mama, the second was Papa. I was so excited at the time and recorded a video to show Robert Harrison, but he was indifferent and instead sent me back a photo of him holding Sarah Miller and drinking. Later, he got angry with me because Sarah Miller was sent to the branch office in Denver, and he sent our 5-year-old daughter T. Oh, the cruel strict training academy. As a result, when she died, she weighed less than 60 pounds. Thinking of this, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I wiped away my tears, placed my daughter's urn to the side, and replied to his message. "Didn't you always want a divorce? This is the birthday present I gave you. Do you like it?" Less than a second after sending the message, Robert Harrison called. My hand trembled as I slid to answer. The next moment, his voice, tinged with anxiety, came from the other end. "Emily Miller, I'm asking you, where are you? Where did you take Lily's ashes? She's my daughter, what right do you have to take them privately?" Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. I remembered that the first thing done after Lily was born was for everyone in the Harrison family to take her for a paternity test with Robert Harrison. After the test confirmed they were father and daughter, Robert Harrison made a grand statement and immediately had a lawyer draft a formal legal document to sever ties. It explicitly stated that Lily would automatically sever ties with the Harrison family upon reaching adulthood. Before, you couldn't wait for Lily to have nothing to do with you. Now that she's dead, why are you claiming kinship? The words surprised even myself as they came out. Usually, I was obedient to Robert Harrison's words and would never dare be sarcastic. I've signed the divorce papers too. Didn't the lawyer tell you? It's already effective. Robert Harrison, there is no longer any relationship between you and me. With that, I hung up the phone without hesitation. Then I blocked all his contact information. In an instant, I suddenly felt weary. Loving someone and hating someone both required energy. But I had no energy left now. I didn't want to be entangled with Robert Harrison anymore. In the following days, I bought a small house with a yard for my daughter and myself. It was surrounded by wildflowers and weeds. The wind blew, bringing the scent of flowers. It was truly pleasant. I looked up and asked, "Lily, do you like it?" A butterfly landed on my shoulder. I instantly understood. This was my daughter's answer. But the peace was always short-lived. After a few days, I received a call from my mother. "Emily, I heard you're having a spat with Robert. You're not young anymore. Couples should be more tolerant and understanding of each other. Hurry back." I froze for a few seconds. My mother was still trying to persuade me endlessly. "Don't be ungrateful for your good fortune. Don't you know how much Robert has helped our family over the years?" I clenched the edge of my phone. "Mom, 6 years ago, didn't you and Dad already sever ties with me?" The next second, the sound of wind came from the other end of the phone. When the voice returned, I was surprised to find it was Robert Harrison. He was as arrogant as ever, but this time his tone was weary. "Emily Miller, I can forgive you for throwing this tantrum. I told you, we can still have children." Honestly, I didn't understand what Robert Harrison meant at all. It was clearly him who had always disliked me and wanted a divorce. Even the divorce papers were the ones he had thrown at me years ago when we were forced to marry. When I got them, his name was already written on them. Why was he unwilling to let me go now that I was actually divorcing him? "Emily Miller, stop pretending to be dead. Talk. Where are you now?" Robert Harrison was agitated. "I'm asking you, where exactly are you?" I scoffed. "Robert Harrison, don't be so pathetic, okay? You were the one who told me to get lost. Now that I'm gone, shouldn't you be happy? Why are you looking for me everywhere? Could it be that you've fallen for me?" There was a sudden silence on the other end of the phone for several seconds. "Emily Miller, you think too highly of yourself. I'm looking for you only because I want my daughter's ashes back. Dream on." Just as I was about to hang up, Robert Harrison spoke with a hint of hatred. "If you don't want to see your Miller Group go bankrupt with your own eyes, if you don't want to see your parents' life's work go down the drain, feel free to hang up." As he finished speaking, I hung up the phone. The other side seemed incredulous and called again. I didn't answer. He impatiently called several more times and even sent many texts. It was then that I realized my so-called high-minded parents had repeatedly asked Robert Harrison for business resources after I married him. While they found me shameful for using means to marry Robert Harrison, they were simultaneously exploiting their status as Robert Harrison's in-laws to gain advantages in the business world. "Emily Miller, if you don't want to go bankrupt, answer my call immediately." As of today, I felt completely indifferent. Before marriage, I lived for my parents and the company. After marriage, I endured and tolerated everything for my daughter, being trampled upon and begging others like a dog. Now, I just want to live for myself, live freely and without reservations. To my surprise, the next morning I received a long series of messages. They were from Sarah Miller. "It's all because of you, you wretched woman. You're distracting Robert all day. Be smart and bring your daughter's ashes back immediately." Looking at the taunting messages, I unleashed every curse word I knew in my reply. But what surprised me most was that a week later, Robert Harrison actually found me. When he pushed open the gate of my small house with a yard, I was cooking a meal in the yard. Robert Harrison looked around, then wrinkled his nose in disgust. "You're doing so poorly after leaving me?" His abrupt voice startled me, and I almost dropped the chopsticks in my hand. Calming down, I met his unyielding gaze. Robert Harrison looked incredibly weary at that moment. He, who was always so meticulous, hadn't even shaved. Even his usually spotless suit had many small wrinkles. He cleared his throat lightly. "For Lily's sake, I can let you come back and continue being Mrs. Harrison." As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed my wrist. "Stop making a scene. Now that I've come to pick you up myself, stop acting like a child." Making a scene? I looked at him in surprise. "Robert Harrison, why do you think I'm making a scene? We don't have any feelings for each other. Isn't divorce perfectly normal?" Saying this, I went back to arranging the fish in the pot. Of course, I didn't miss the surprise in Robert Harrison's eyes. It was strange. He found the idea that I didn't love him anymore absurd. "Emily Miller, I'm giving you a lot of face here." He puffed out his chest. "I can explain about Lily." I pushed him away. "I don't want to hear any explanations from you. Now, please leave my home." My guarded appearance genuinely flustered Robert Harrison. He awkwardly swallowed and softened his tone when he spoke again. "Can you stop making a scene? Now the outside world is spreading rumors about our divorce, and it's already affecting the Harrison family stock." I clicked my tongue. "Can't we just publicly announce our divorce? Besides, when we got married, you released so many negative stories about me, and it didn't affect the Harrison Group's stock. Now a simple divorce is affecting it?" 6 years ago, Robert Harrison was absent from our wedding ceremony. I waited for him all day, and what I got was a picture of Sarah Miller. Robert Harrison, drunk, was collapsing in her arms. This picture quickly went viral online, and my identity was completely exposed. Worse, someone revealed how I had used means to marry Robert Harrison. Robert Harrison was stunned for a moment, then tried to grab my arm in a panic. But I dodged him. I served the fish from the pot and looked at him, confused. "Aren't you leaving?" He gritted his teeth and sat down. Without waiting for me to speak, he picked up his chopsticks and put a piece of fish in his mouth. "I haven't taken my daughter's ashes. Why should I leave? Until I get Lily's ashes back, I won't leave." Seeing him act so shamelessly, a sense of dread rose in my heart. When I had desperately clung to him, begging him to care about our marriage, he was indifferent. But now that I was withdrawing, he was clinging on tightly. No matter what I said, Robert Harrison showed no intention of leaving. As it was getting dark, he even wanted to stay the night. Left with no choice, I brought out Lily's urn and put it in his arms. "Here, take it. Now leave." Robert Harrison, who had a smile in his eyes moments before, suddenly froze. Looking closely, I could see his hands trembling as he held the urn. I pushed him towards the door. "What's wrong? Isn't this what you came for? Now I've given it to you, you can leave." His mouth twitched, and after a long while, he managed to squeeze out a sentence. "Why?" "No reason. I just don't want to have anything to do with you anymore." As I spoke, I had already pushed him outside the yard. The moment the gate closed, I saw a flicker of sadness in his eyes. But what did it matter? Every night, I couldn't forget the pain Robert Harrison had inflicted on me. It was true that I had used less than ideal means to have his child, but my only goal was for the Harrison family to help my family's business. It was Robert Harrison who proposed the idea of marriage. He stood me up at the wedding, and after we were married, he let Sarah Miller live in my bridal room, making her the lady of the house. I endured it all because I knew I was in the wrong regarding what happened back then. But now, because of my cowardice, because of my compromises, my daughter was gone. Thinking of this, I went back inside and hugged my daughter's photo of the deceased tightly. It was the only thing she left me. Late at night, I packed my luggage. I decided I want Ed to travel the world once, to enjoy life outside. The next day, I deliberately got up early. After packing my luggage, I pulled open the front door. Outside, Robert Harrison's haggard face appeared. Perhaps from not sleeping all night, Robert Harrison's eyes were bloodshot. What shocked me even more was that he was holding my daughter's urn in his arms. I hid the photo of my daughter in my bag a little. What are you still doing here? Aren't you going back to be with your new love? No wonder Sarah Miller had called me from a different phone number late last night, cursing me out. I was confused at the time, but now I saw the signs. Robert Harrison stood there like a rigid block of wood. No matter how I called out to him, he didn't move. Since you don't want to speak, I won't waste my breath. Make sure you take good care of our daughter's ashes. I looked at the box in his arms nonchalantly. Inside was actually not Lily's ashes, but burnt wood ash. My daughter had already been buried in the place she always yearned for. Hearing this, Robert Harrison's eyes moved slightly. I checked the time. The car I had booked was arriving soon, so I walked past him a few steps. Unexpectedly, Robert Harrison grabbed my luggage. Feeling the pull, I looked back. What are you doing? Robert Harrison was somewhat angry. Where are you going? Where I go is none of your business, is it? His eyes widened. Of course it is. You thief. His words struck me as nonsensical. Me, a thief? What did I steal from you? He was silent for a moment, then snorted coldly. The blue tie from my left drawer is missing. You took it, didn't you? Yes. That tie was a gift I gave you. I have the right to dispose of it. That blue tie was a birthday gift I gave Robert Harrison. After I gave it to him, he just threw it in his closet. I had secretly been happy at the time, thinking at least he hadn't thrown it away completely. What right? You gave it to me, it's my property. Now, give it back. Realizing he was being unreasonable, I also lost my temper and walked past him. Unexpectedly, this time he grabbed me from behind. You thief! I impatiently pulled away from his grip. Robert Harrison, I didn't steal anything from you. The money for buying the house and burying my daughter was all earned by myself. It had nothing to do with the Harrison family or Robert Harrison. When I left, the housekeeper checked my luggage. I didn't take anything from the Harrison family. If you keep calling me a thief, I'll sue you for defamation. I said the last few sentences with hatred. He clearly didn't react, and there was a lingering sadness in his eyes. I wrapped my arms around myself. You say I'm a thief, I'm asking you. What did I steal from your family? He looked at me coldly. Me? What? You stole my body, and you're saying you're not a thief? I never expected him to blurt out such a sentence. Robert Harrison, you're truly ridiculous. The timing was perfect. Just as I finished speaking, the car I had booked arrived. After the car started, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Robert Harrison was still standing there, motionless. He was just staring in the direction I had gone. Perhaps he regretted it, but I never looked back. My first stop was California. They say it's a place that can soothe emotions. But I never expected to meet Robert Harrison here. The first thing he said to me was an apology. Sarah Miller and I are completely over. It was almost laughable. After I left him, Robert Harrison suddenly discovered that Sarah Miller's departure was orchestrated by Mr. Harrison. What was even harder for him to accept was that the child Sarah Miller was carrying was willingly conceived with a black man. All these years, I've wrongly accused you. Emily, I'm sorry. I gave a wry smile, not answering. In fact, if Robert Harrison had simply investigated back then, he would have known that with my ability, I didn't have the power to send Sarah Miller away. He just harbored such deep hatred for me at the time that he wouldn't listen to my explanation. Later, I was too tired to explain. Lily is placed in the family mausoleum, so you don't need to worry. Also, he paused. Can you forgive me? I drained the wine in my glass. Are you crazy? As soon as the words left my mouth, he grabbed my shoulders, pleading. Emily, I regret not realizing my feelings sooner. I am truly sorry for what I did to you. Speaking, he choked up. I'm begging you, forgive me. Give me another chance, okay? After you left, I realized. Are you insane? I shook him off irritably. It was too ironic. Lily was dead, I had divorced him, and he suddenly woke up and realized he loved me. The price of that love was too great. I couldn't bear it. You're disgusting, Robert Harrison. I think you're utterly hypocritical right now. Besides, I have someone I like. As I spoke, I looked towards the man walking towards me, holding a bubble tea. We met on the plane. Coincidentally, he was also traveling. We talked very well on the way. Robert Harrison shook his head repeatedly. No, that can't be. Saying this, he eagerly pulled out a ring from his pocket and knelt on one knee. Emily, can we get back together? I love you, you can't leave me. Ethan saw the scene and also became anxious. He immediately hid me behind him and roughly pushed Robert Harrison to the ground. This is my fiancé. Security? Where's security? Get this guy harassing my girlfriend out of here. Robert Harrison cried out my name in defiance, confessing his regrets. But I didn't hear a word. At that moment, my eyes were only on Ethan. In front of everyone, he declared his love for me. I was planning to wait for the right moment. I didn't expect the moment to be right now. Emily Miller, will you agree to be with me? My face was full of smiles. Yes, I will. The people around us applauded excitedly and offered their blessings. Amidst the cheers, Ethan picked me up and twirled me around several times. Later, we went to the Rockies, New England, and the Southwest together, seeing so many beautiful sights. Later, I heard that Robert Harrison spent his days drinking, becoming completely worn out / decadent / in the range of but not listed in JSON, will translate the meaning, and his company's business plummeted. Ethan told me, that's what happens to men who don't love their wives. He held me tightly. Emily, let's get married.